Hey everyone, it's Norm from Tested, and today I'm going to be reviewing and sharing with you my experiences of a new piece of kit that I've been using for the past couple months that you may have actually seen footage from on our videos recently. But we haven't actually had a chance to talk about it. We've been putting it through its paces, and it's actually been one of my favorite pieces of camera gear I've used all year. This comes from iFootage. They sent over their new Shark Nano slider. Actually, it was announced about a year ago, but because of supply chain constraints, it hasn't been really available. But they said there's finally some stock, and so now is the right time to talk about it. If you're unfamiliar, this is a motion control system. Offers two axes of control, lateral movement as well as rotational movement, in a really compact slider package. One of my favorite things about this is how compact it is. I was able to take this in a carry-on bag and fly to Seattle. When I previewed the Valve Steam Deck, this was what I used to get my wide shot of a slow-moving camera as I was interviewing those developers at Valve. And we've used it in the studio. I've taken it on location for short film production, as well as for some time-lapse photography. And the portability, I think, is what makes this so appealing. So I'm gonna run through exactly how it works, all its features, and how it might compare with some of the other sliders, motorized sliders that you may have seen in the marketplace. So this is the whole unit right here, and it runs on either a standard Sony battery, which gives you about 4 hours of usage, or actually has USB-C power as well, which also charges the battery pretty slowly. And you have your standard either 1/4 or 3" mounts on this carriage here. Now, one of the cool things about this is that it is compact, so you can see the movement here isn't that much. It's very comparable to Edelkrone has a motorized slider as well that offers just one axis of lateral movement. And both of these have about a 20 or 21 centimeter, if you're talking about from the center to center. So movement basically goes from here to here. But something you may also notice is as I'm moving the carriage and sliding it across, you can see there's actually additional movement on the bottom, because this not only works if you set it on a tabletop surface like this, but you can also mount it onto a tripod, way down of course, and then you could basically double the lateral movement. It moves, the whole unit actually slides along with the carriage while this mount slides in the opposite direction to get 40 to 42 centimeters, is how I measure 42 centimeters of movement. So well over a foot, not quite a foot and a half. But let's run through exactly how it works. I'm just gonna use this with my phone, and it's really made for either filming with your phone or a small mirrorless camera. You can put a DSLR in here, but its maximum capacity is, on the tabletop mode, 2.5 kilograms, so just over 5 pounds. And if you mount it vertically and want to do some type of diagonal or vertical movement, its carrying load only is about 2 pounds, which is short of that of like the Edelkrone slider. I believe that one has a 9 kilogram payload capacity, almost 20 pounds. But even with that relatively limited capacity, I found this to be the versatility of this, the portability of this, to really be its strength. So it's just dead easy to use. A single person can operate this and be in front of camera at the same time. I have my battery plugged in. The important thing is to unlock the carriage so it actually can freely move, and I'm gonna hold the power button and it turns on. I'll do a little bit of a calibration at first to make sure it's level, and there is a built-in little bubble level here. So if you have it mounted on a tripod, very easy to tell how level it is. So there you go. It's doing some calibration, and technically I should actually have the camera balance on here ahead of time. Not that big of a deal because I'm just using my iPhone. You do want to make sure that if you have a bigger camera, it is centered, so you have the lens not sticking too far forward, or else it will be it won't move as smoothly. So let me screw on this tiny iPhone holder. And on the carriage, there are actually 2 points of adjustment. There's a tensioning dial. If you find that it's a little bit loose as you manually move it along, as well as a way to lock, of course, lock the mount. So it does take both 1/4 inch as well as 3/8, and it's a nice single point that can recede, so you don't have to swap an adapter in. And there's an app that you can connect this to. So iFootage has an app that you can load up and you can do some manual control there. But I actually prefer using the on-screen touchscreen control. So I hit quick start and it's really dead simple. I hold both the power button and the function button down, and then I'm literally just physically moving this to set my endpoints. So let's say I have my camera here and we'll go this way, which is a little bit funky, but we'll do that so I can see you. And I framed up a shot here, and I say, let's say I want to, it's 2 axes, so I can rotate, and let's say I want, we'll have this light be my focus point here. I'm going to have that centered, and I literally tap an endpoint. That's my A point, and then I physically move this over and rotate a little bit of the other direction. It's been really fun to experiment over this 21 centimeters of movement using different focal lengths, whether the ultra wide, the wide, or the telephoto on a phone, the different types of footage you can get with just that much movement. I'm going to confirm here and then click standby. You can see that's the movement. That's actually probably the fastest it moves. So pretty good. It turns out you don't need a lot of movement to create some effects, especially if you're shooting telephoto. And then I can have this in about a different mode. So I can have it, it's kind of cycle, go from A to B and say I want, let's say a 30-second interval. I can set my interval from point A to point B, or I can set based on speed, activate it, and then over here I've set it for 30 seconds. That 30 seconds time, it will go from point A to point B. I have it doing a cycle, so kind of bounce back and forth, which is really convenient if I want to just set this up, forget it, and then get in front of the camera and do an interview or something, or run a time lapse. There's also a actual time lapse setting here, so I can again set the duration, set the interval, and it comes with a bunch of time lapse trigger cables that you plug right into the carriage, and then you can plug it into whether your Canon, Nikon, or Sony cameras to trigger those individual photos. I use this to great success with a resin lapse, so time-lapsing a 3D print, and I knew based on the slicer that my print was going to be about 8 hours overnight. I set that manually on the slider here and then got a really cool 2-axis time-lapse over that resin lapse, triggering the camera with the printer and not the actual slider itself. One thing you can notice though is as you're watching this, if I speed this up and down, it's not a continuous speed. It slows down as it gets to each of these endpoints. And some other sliders in an app, you might be able to configure that ramp up speed. You may have like a graph that you can drag the ramp points, how fast it speeds up, or it might slow down toward the center. That's unfortunately not something you can configure here with the Shark Nano slider. It is a fixed ramp up, whether at that standard 21 centimeter or the double 42 centimeter length. So the time lapses tend to look very similar in terms of how they ramp up. And iFootage has told me that in the future, they're hoping to integrate the ability to change those ramping profiles in the app. But as we're recording this, that still hasn't happened yet. So this is just kind of going back and forth right now. And like I said, with this Sony battery, it'll run for about 4 hours. And we've put Micro Four Thirds cameras on here. I've run this with an iPhone. I run it with my DSLR, my 5D, and we've actually put like lights on here. We've used it as a way to motion control and have a panning light that will go and rotate back and forth for an effect for a scene. And it works really well. It's been really reliable. I've only had increased the tension once since using this for the past 3 months. And the ability to quickly set these endpoints and manually change how I want that rotation to look and where my start and end points are is just invaluable. If I'm in a fast-moving production environment, I just really need to drop our tripod down and get this rolling and throw a camera phone on there or throw a camera on there, I can have this set up in under 10 minutes, honestly, 5 to 10 minutes, and it works. I usually have a USB-C battery plugged into it, just give it some extra juice, and I can just really set it and forget it. And if you've seen through some of this B-roll footage, whether it's through macro footage, wide angle stuff, it's just, it enhances the look of our videos just a bit and feels like I have an extra person on set helping me. Now, it's not going to be great for a walk and talk scene or a scene where you need a big dolly movement. A handheld stabilized gimbal camera might be better for that. But if you just need something to shift your foreground, a little bit of parallax in foreground and background, getting some B-roll of some 6-scale products, for example, that I like taking photos of or videos of, this has really been a wonderful addition to my photography and videography kit. And the fact that it packs up really nicely, really compactly, and can fit this whole case in not necessarily my camera bag, but in a carry-on suitcase for flying anywhere, has made this an essential part of my not everyday carry, but my travel kit, my travel photo and video kit. Let's give you a quick demo of what it's like if I have this at an angle as well. So I'm going to power this down for just a second. Remove this iPhone holder by, again, holding that lock button, and then we're going to put it on a actual tripod. Okay, so I have my phone mounted on just a small one-axis tripod mount here, so I can have it level with the horizon. You can tell that I have the Shark Nano slider here mounted at a slight angle. I actually don't have a sandbag right now to anchor the tripod down. But the same thing, I can hold down my power and function button and set my A and B points. In this case, we're going to film the camera I'm filming with right now. And here goes my A point. Move this all the way up, and you can see this is that full range of motion now, that full 42 centimeters. Here, I'm going to go B, confirm, and then again, let's do a 20-second interval. We'll have it on standby, and you can see the way of the iPhone, no problem for this. I'm going to start recording and then have this run, and then you can see you get a little bit of linear movement along an angle here. And if I wanted to add rotation as well. And you can do this vertically as well. Again, the payload capacity isn't that impressive at 2.5 kilograms when it's on the table, and down to 2 kilograms, mount and everything included, assuming your camera's balanced if you're gonna go vertically. If you stress it too much, you will get jittery movement on here. So I find that It's best with a phone, a micro four thirds camera, or if you're using a heavier DSLR, maybe not a massive lens, using a more compact squatter lens and finding that balance when you have it on the carriage or on a plate. So there you go. That's a bit of movement right here. Super easy to set up. Didn't have to run the app at all. I love the on-screen controls. The time-lapse mode, just the standard little dolly, this little jib mode, as well as there's a stop motion mode. So I can set my A and B points and manually click next, next, next. Over that interval, I can say I want, over the span of A and B, 2,000 photos. And if I plan a 2,000 shot stop motion animation with each frame, I can then hit next and it will move exactly that interval. So it works for stop motion animation as well for some motion control shots. That is the Shark Nano slider from iFootage. I think they're finally able to ship this out because of the supply constraints. The price has gone up. Initially, I believe this launched at $600. Now it's at over about $750, $780. And compared to other sliders on the market, the Edelchrome one is $500, has a higher payload capacity, but that's only one axis of movement. That's only lateral movement, no rotational movement. And the fact that I get two axis, super compact, reliable. This is something that, like I said, I've made as a part of my essential travel kit. If you have other experiences with sliders, I know there have been a bunch that have launched motion control camera systems, launched on crowdfunding campaigns and other camera companies. Let me know your experience in the comments below, but you'll for sure be seeing footage from cameras mounted on the slider in future tested videos. I've been loving using it. So I'll leave you with some more B-roll shots. If you have questions about it, please post them in the comments below. But until next time, I'm Norm, and I'll see you then. Happy sliding.